Underestimate Pakistan's ability to stay alive in a tournament. That,
Despite
that
not
that's
being
where it
involved.
stands. Pakistan is always involved. No matter what happens in an ICC tournament, Pakistan is somehow always involved, right? I don't even know how at this point. Welcome to today's episode of The Morning After. South Africa's comprehensive victory over New Zealand. And like we said I want to say a couple of weeks ago, New Zealand should start getting worried if this is their new trend. Wishing Fardin Kibria a very happy birthday as we get started with today's discussion. So Fardin, let's start right at the top. New Zealand choosing to field first after winning the toss. I mean, against South Africa, really.
Brainless. One of the things Ian Smith was saying, and I agree with this 100%. Unless the conditions are gonna change massively in the second innings, there is literally no reason for you to be giving up the batting conditions that you get in the first innings in the afternoon in India, sun beating down as flat as it gets, etc., etc. Unless you're gonna get literally a road or something out of the dew, which is like very unlikely to happen in a lot of situations. Sometimes you might not even get dew, right? Sometimes you might not even survive till the dew comes into play, which is what happened today. So to give up batting first, plus South Africa's averaging 348 this year batting first, some crazy number like that. So yeah, I think yeah, I mean Latham's captaincy has been under the scanner a little bit, but I think this was definitely a call, which is not a captain's call only, but I guess as a management and as a team, they've decided that they were going to bat bowl first, and yeah, it just didn't go well.
The South African batters coming in strong. And then it doesn't help that Matt Henry, in I think his second spell, gets injured.
Yeah,
Jimmy Neesham sort of has to cover for him. Jimmy Neesham is not in the best of bowling forms himself. So
gets
that's
sent
big
around.
trouble for New
Yeah,
Zealand.
yeah,
Matt Henry, Loki Ferguson, Kane Williamson. Before we get more into the game, all three of them injured right now.
yeah.
New
I'm
Zealand.
also wondering if Jimmy Neesham's injured because he came to bat after Tim Southee, which was interesting because they were just losing wickets and they sent Santner and Neesham before they sent Santner and Saudi before they sent Nisham. And as the situation is right now, Chapman's injured, Williamson's injured, and even today, if they were to have an extra sub fielder, it was gonna be Luke Ronke coming into sub field for them because
That has happened before, actually.
yeah, that has happened before. So um, I think one of the things that Harsha Bogles talked about in the commentary today was about having 17-man squads rather than 15-man squads. We talked about this. This is actually something we said for the me and you we talked about was associate teams don't have the ability to play 9 games in 6 weeks because of an experience issue. Players also don't have the ability to sometimes play 9 games in 6 weeks because of the nature of the tournament and also the physical stress that is put on them. Whereas if you have 17 players, you have that extra cushion to select from. So I don't know, depending on the future of ODI cricket, this will be interesting going forward. Because yeah, I guess Australia has now lost 2 players too. And they only have 12 to choose from, maybe 13 against England. So yeah.
And it's kind of weird, but we do see this lack of innovative tendencies from ICC when it comes to ODI cricket. Like they'll use this and say the T20 World Cup next year is going to have 17 members, let's say, or 18 members. T20 squads don't need that many
Need that
players.
many
Under most
players. Yeah,
circumstances, they don't.
yeah, yeah. They don't exactly. And T20 World Cups, sometimes T20 World Cups are as such that maybe 12 guys play out of the 15, right? If you're part of the winning squad, maybe 12 haven't even played. 11, same 11's played all game, maybe you had a little change here and there, but 15 guys get the medal end of the day, but you don't need 15 guys regularly in a T20 setting. But in a 50 over setting, you can have your sub get injured too while fielding, right? So what are you going to do in that situation? ICC rules don't allow traveling reserves to come and field. They don't allow local players to come and field. So a lot of situations are not allowed. Whereas if those maybe situations were allowed, teams could have a couple of local guys, it's a couple of local good fielders carrying around with them and stuff like that. Because if for someone to sub field with you, it doesn't need to be they don't need to be capped by the country, right? So yeah, it's just I guess cricket's got a little bit of innovative work to do, like you said.
Like Ross Taylor coming out of the commentary box, changing out of his
Ah,
formals
ah.
into his jersey. Uh,
Can you get Katie Martin in there? Is it possible?
Ian Smith
And
sub keeping
stop
instead of
keeping
Tom Latham.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that would be crazy. Anyways, putting all that aside, New Zealand did struggle in the field. An amazing start again. Quinton De Kock, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal World Cup. Rassie van der Dussen was having an on and off good World Cup. He's taken that to a great World Cup
Yeah,
already. He
yeah.
probably has to take even more responsibility as a number three, especially when they're chasing. But as of now, he's doing fantastic as well. David Miller, phenomenal as we know him to be. But let's start with uh, Quinton de Kock and Rassie van der Dussen's partnership first.
Yeah, I think we're running out of words to describe Quinton de Kock this World Cup. And the funny thing is he's retiring from ODI cricket after the World Cup, right? So he will be a big miss, but I think one of the things that's really helping him perform is the thought that he has nothing to lose, I guess, in a way. And he's kind of free in his mind. He never had anything to lose because of the stalwart he is in modern day. But you are always playing for your position in more ways than one. Especially if you're Quinton de Kock and you've been under a little bit of controversy with Cricket South Africa and whatnot. But no exceptional innings. I think once again he showed his repertoire of shots. He went after every bowler. And I think one of the things that I really liked was, I think you'll agree, is that he never slowed down, never thought about his 100 per se. Always thought about like the total that they wanted to get to. And I
He was
think,
batting at this 95 strike rate, I think, all throughout the innings,
yeah,
beginning to end.
yeah. And for like, he looks like the kind of guy who's more than happy to play a support role now if someone else is going well. And he was doing that really well with Rassi because Rassi was striking at over 100 at times. And he was just turning it over to Rassi and letting him do his thing. So it's really good to see when senior guys are doing that. Rassi by no means is a junior player, but he's only played international cricket for 4.5 years, something like that. So yeah, it's South Africa's World Cup to lose, I would say, from here on. Um, Given their impetus batting first, they have India on the blockade. So yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see.
India's South Africa game could be really interesting for multiple reasons. On one hand, both teams could just go with a reserve squad, not necessarily reserve squad, more like some of their reserve players and try and test the bench strength out, or they
Yeah,
can all go all guns blazing. Both sides putting in their best 11, seeing it as the sort of warm up before the eventual semifinal or final. That'll
yeah,
be a very interesting
yeah.
encounter. But again, not going too far right now. Quinton de Kock, coming back to him, if you were, let's say, one of those, if you were someone in South Africa right now, looking at Quinton de Kock for the last 8, 9 years, he's been this amazing, phenomenal prospect in the beginning. Now he's translated that talent into performances all throughout in all three formats, retired early in tests due to multiple reasons. We're not going there anymore, but he has been open as to why he wants to retire early from ODI cricket. That is understandable, but as a QDK fan, what do you think? Do you want him to go this route and retire on a high and think about, the likes of Shakib and Stokes, players who couldn't do that? players who couldn't end on a high? Or do you think along the lines of someone like a Rohit Sharma or Mahmudullah Riyad, who actually took that opportunity very well and sort of, made even their last World Cups count?
Yeah, I think that's a catch-22 kind of a situation. But for someone like Quinton De Kock, I think he's always been the kind of guy who wanted to go out on his own terms. Something which we're seeing from David Willey too. He's missed out on an England contract and said, "Well, I'll sort my bills out from somewhere else." And it's similar thing. It's with Quinton de Kock, he's chosen this route, and I think if you're a QDK fan, you're happy for him to have had the shot at playing at what, 3 World Cups, and he's finishing at a really good place in his last World Cup. If he was to push towards another World Cup per se, and he's what, 34, maybe doesn't really have a really good World Cup. People are asking for him to get dropped in 2027 or whatever it is. It just tarnishes your reputation, like we said yesterday, and your legacy as a player. But whereas if he's going out at 30, we know T20 has a big future in cricket. With the amount of T20 stuff coming up, South Africa has a really good chance to get the most out of Quinton de Kock in that format, and they might be able to take home a couple of ICC championships. But I think for South Africa as a whole, what they get is a fit and firing Quinton de Kock at the SAT20 that they're trying to build up. So it's a you lose some and you win some, and I think with Quinton de Kock, you always knew you were gonna lose something at a point, because he's always been someone who wanted to prioritize shorter format and money kind of situations, right? So it is what it is, but I think you'd be happy that he's finishing off on a really good place, especially in ODI cricket.
Speaking of shorter formats, a player who could have neglected his national duties, but he never did throughout the years, throughout so much turmoil. David Miller. He brings in so much experience, especially of having played in India,
Yeah.
and we saw glimpses of that today.
Yeah, I mean, this new coming of David Miller in the last 12 to 18 months or so, I think you'll agree is probably the best he's played in his career. We've seen glimpses of it, like you said, back in the day. We've seen some of it in the IPL. And, for someone like him, if he were to go the T20 route 5, 6 years ago, you wouldn't be able to blame him because he always looked like T20 player who can extend it to the ODI game. But now he's just improved and accelerated his game in such a way that he's able to change between both formats pretty easily while he still plays at that same tempo. Last week, he had last round, I think he scored at 200 strike rate. This round, he scored at 176 strike rate. He's always scoring around those ballpark marks, which he would be scoring in T20 cricket. So, yeah, I mean, South Africa is in a really good place with their squad right now. These guys are firing at the right time. And freaking Markram didn't even bat today. So, and they scored 375 or something. Oh, sorry, 357, which is mental.
Coming into the New Zealand batting innings, this is New Zealand's first proper batting failure that we saw today. We haven't seen something like this from them yet. And I guess in one way it's okay when you get done with it. It happens to every team in a tournament. You sort of just get done with it. But at this point, New Zealand would be worried because their run rate took a hit. They're not getting the points that they need. Three back-to-back losses now. The batters are they Do you think they might lose their confidence at this point?
All I know is in the streets of Pakistan, they are holding on to hope at this point. Uh, they need a lot of results to go their way, including their 2 wins. But I think New Zealand's really hit that lull, really hit that downward trend at the wrong time possible. And it's come at the same time as Williamson coming back from injury, but also going back into injury. So it hasn't really helped them. And then, like you said, they potentially only have 11 guys to choose from next game. They had Kyle Jamieson here, but he's not anymore. He's gone back home. Only Tom Blundell's the reserve player right now, I think, with the squad. So yeah, they're in a tough position, I would say. Um, they're facing Pakistan next. For Pakistan, it's a must win. They're gonna come hard. I would say it's a must win for New Zealand too. Because if they win, then they're sure shot in for the top four position. But if they lose, then they have to start praying for things to go their way. And uh, knowing Kane Williamson and knowing the way New Zealand go about things, they don't want to depend on other people for sure. Did New
Top
Zealand
order,
get a Bangladesh bug though in their batting?
the top order, it's we can put it down to a rare failure today,
Yeah.
but not a rare thing to see Marco Jansen perform with the new ball once again.
Um, I think they were talking about in commentary, just a tall, big dude who runs in, and when he runs in, he doesn't look like he's like this mean, ferocious kind of bowler. Like his run up and his approach to the crease is quite steady, quite smart. He's quite smart about his body, quite smart about his action and things like that. That he doesn't need to put in a lot of energy towards every ball unless he's really bowling that effort ball. It's a repeatable action. And freaking hell, this guy, the way he set up freaking Conway. Out, 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 out. Conway edged a couple to like third man and whatnot. And then the one that he got caught it actually bounced and came into him rather than going away, which was what naturally was happening. So yeah, I mean, South Africa, you would have thought they would have lost a lot with Angrit Nokia not playing at the World Cup. But I guess we'll go into the guy who replaced him a little more. But uh, freaking Jansen's really taken that new ball roles super well, and it just allows Kagis Rabada to do his thing without having to worry about, having that extra bite and impetus as the senior pro.
Tom Latham today walked into a situation which was more suited to his game than anything else, and once again failed to perform.
I'm so disappointed with Tom Latham. It's actually really sad. Because with Latham, I was always thinking this guy was gonna like, he's like the clutch man, he's the crisis man, he's always been that kind of guy, but yeah, it's just he's got the Bangladesh bug for sure. Just throwing his wicket away, especially in crucial situations. He hasn't really gotten a start at the World Cup. Like by starts, we mean like 30, getting to 30, getting to 40. He's really struggled to pile those on at the World Cup. Got a maybe a couple of 20s here and there and whatnot. Um, so yeah, I mean, with Williamson not there, and say, today Rachin Ravindra didn't fire exactly. So for him to come out and, give his wicket away like that, yeah, it doesn't really help. But do you think the captaincy part is affecting him a little?
I think so. I think it definitely is because again, we've seen him perform well as a captain, but that's when things are going well, especially during those home series.
Home,
New
yeah,
Zealand are unbeatable almost at home.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's much easier to do that there than it is over here in a World Cup where things are a bit shaky. When even when your team is winning, there are questions being raised about your captaincy, about your batting. So it's
yeah.
definitely not easy then.
No, no, no.
Moving
Well,
forward, Koitze, as you mentioned earlier, him and Maharaj, I think they were the ones ruling it in the middle. They were the ones who sort of sealed it off for South Africa.
yeah, I love Quidz's um energy, and I think he brings a really big persona onto the ground, which really helps South Africa. He kept being aggressive, keep being, um, you know, positive, looking for a wicket every time. Whereas a lot of guys, if they get carted around a little bit or if they go for a little bit of runs here and there, it's really easy to fall back into safety mode rather than looking for wickets. And you'll think about it and you'll see he's gone for 6.3 runs and over, and you're thinking, oh, he's been a little bit expensive, but he was actually bowling the way he needed to. And Glenn Phillips was kind of looking set for 100 there at the end. Uh, Almost got a red, took home a not out, but couldn't do it. So for him to bounce out, Glenn Phillips was really nice to see. And freaking Maharaj, bro, what can this guy not do, bro? Last match bats, this match. Feel bad for Tabriz Shamsi. Got a 4 for last match. Did dig in a little, got a few runs, and then got dropped this game. But one of the things we talked about last game was, or after this Afghanistan game, was some guys are more than happy to slot in for that 1 or 2 games. They know they're gonna only gonna play that couple of games or 1/3 of the game in the tournament because those are the conditions that suit them. So yeah,
Overall, South Africa look all set for possibly the top two spot.
yeah,
As for New Zealand, again, we mentioned that they're not in the best of positions. Losing to Pakistan could be very risky. Having said that, Pakistan aren't exactly in the best of forms either. So one win against Bangladesh doesn't really put them
yeah.
in
Back in,
this
back
sure
in.
shot.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's
No,
not
no, no.
smooth sailing there. No,
Not at all.
as
Not at
England would
all.
have found out exactly,
So I think we're pretty much at the end of our discussion. Now, Fardin, final thoughts on today's game and how much are you looking forward to tomorrow? India, Sri Lanka?
bro. I just want, if all I know is tomorrow people are hoping for India to again,
Sorry, it's actually today, just
yeah,
just to
today.
clarify.
Yeah.
Uh,
So people are, hoping for another India win, but I'm telling you, if you want the World Cup to be wide open, a few teams interested here and there, a Sri Lanka win doesn't hurt us in the contest of the World Cup. Sri Lanka will be hungry for that win because, they are also challenging for that number 4 position still at this point. And as for today's game, I think, yeah, one of those one-siders again at the World Cup. But South Africa far and wide, like through and through, the better team. It would have been interesting to see them chase. Sometimes they're getting out to throwdowns while they're chasing, like you said. So, so yeah, it would have been interesting, and I think New Zealand just messed it up with the call at, because losing by 190 runs is a big dent in their net run rate. All these
all
mans
right.
in Pakistan are thinking, bro, if they chased by 2-3 overs earlier yesterday, oh, the freaking margin would have been much closer. It's like, what do you
Wouldn't
expect?
have made too big a difference.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, not to go too much of a tangent, but like 205 of 25 overs, if you're expecting that and you want guys to feel good and confident leading up to the next 2 match, you're not gonna get both. Then you're gonna complain about, oh, Babar Azam's not scoring runs, etc. etc.
All right. Thank you very much, Fardin. Once again, happy birthday. And
You,
to our viewers, thank you very much. Stay tuned to Backyarder for more. Goodbye.
thank you. Bye bye.